I've got 2:30. How about y'all?
Yep.
Tell me when you want to start.
1 second.
Before the rain. Good, y'all good?
Yep. Good.
Chelsea, tell me when.
Good. Go.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming out. My name is Don Sullins. I'm with Chatham Emergency Management Agency. We're here to talk about the tornado event that happened yesterday afternoon and what the community response and recovery efforts have been to this point. What I'd like to do is keep this rather informal. After I get done with this short introduction, I'll bring up representatives from agencies that responded to the event yesterday afternoon and have been working since then to recover. They will tell you their names and what agencies they represent. They will give you a short briefing as far as what their role has been to this point. When we get to the end, I'll come back up and try to facilitate your questions. If I don't know the answer, I'll try to find the subject matter expert that can provide you the best answer. And if we can't provide you an answer, I will get you an answer. How's that? Does that sound fair?
Yep.
Okay. So, basically with me today are the representatives of the first responders, EM partners involved, and the National Weather Service, all that have knowledge about what happened last night. We're going to start off, or yesterday afternoon, what we're going to do is start off with the National Weather Service and Ron Morales.
Good afternoon, everybody. You have to bear with me, my voice is failing. We came out this afternoon to survey the area that was damaged by the tornado yesterday, and we started up north of Oatland Island, just the beginning of the green line there on the top part of the green line, and worked our way southeastward to Oatland Island first, which was heavily damaged mainly by large soft and hardwood trees being uprooted and snapped, and then continuing along the path into the Grays Community Park area, which had extensive damage to homes, mainly due to large trees being snapped and uprooted, falling onto the homes and causing roof damage particularly. Continuing on across Route 80 and into this area here where the schools are located, the tornado made its ending point, ending just by the high school into the ball field, where it did some minor damage to the fencing area over there. This damage seemed to be consistent with roughly wind speeds of 95 to about 105 miles an hour, which is in the level of what we call enhanced EF1 or EF1 scale on the Fujita tornado scale. Are there any questions? I'll move on to the next person. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Chatham Emergency Services.
Wayne Noah, Chief of Fire with Chatham Emergency Services. We responded to 3 different primary areas, that in the Grays Creek subdivision, the schools here, and also Oatland Island. I myself was over on Oatland Island. We had extensive damage, trees down, power lines down, and our #1 priority was to make sure that everyone was safe and secure inside of a building. Once that was done, we began our efforts with Chatham County Public Works. A phone call was made to the Director Robert Drury there. He had crews out there immediately, and we were able to gain access and get those individuals that were trapped on the island off and safely away from there. Are there any questions?
Okay. Georgia Power.
Good afternoon, I'm Swan Seiler. I'm the External Affairs Manager for Georgia Power. Right now, we anticipate bringing up 95% of our customers by early evening. That's probably in the 5 to 7 p.m. time frame. We have about 300 customers left. This is down from 4,000 last night. The majority of these customers are located, of course, on Oatland, Wilmington, and Whitmarsh Islands. Although yesterday our outages were very scattered, we still have outages out on Ferguson Avenue and White Bluff. Our crews have been augmented by those from Brunswick, Hinesville, Statesboro, and Springfield, and we have brought crews in from Augusta, Macon, and Atlanta. We have more than a dozen poles that had to be reset. We have 55 spans of wire down, And of course, like everyone else, we have been hampered by accessibility with trees down, limbs down. We will continue working till everyone is restored. We know that Oakland Island is going to take longer. That can take well into the evening. And we appreciate everyone's patience, and our customers have been very supportive and understanding through this.
County Public Works.
Good afternoon. I'm Robert Drury, Director of Public Works for Chatham County. First, I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of Public Works. They responded very quickly last night, and they did their job that they're trained to do, and they did it very well. I want to specifically talk about debris management. We're working beginning to Monday to start pick up debris that's in the public right-of-ways. We'll be isolated in 2 general locations. That would be Gray Subdivision and Oakland Island. We'll have crews in each one of those areas, like I said, picking up debris in the public right-of-way. Our crews will not go on private property. They will not cut up anything that's on private property. If a homeowner chooses to hire a contractor such as a tree service, we ask that you please have that tree service haul off your debris and dispose of it. Typically that's in their quote and their charge anyway. And if you do decide to put the debris out there in the right-of-way, please cut it up into 4-foot lengths. Please do not pile it on utility structures, telephone boxes and things of that sort. That makes it dangerous for my crews to pick up. And then just want to let everyone know, in the rest of unincorporated county will be back on our regular dry trash schedule Monday as well. So thank you very much.
Board of Education.
Good afternoon. I'm Vanessa Kegel. I serve as the Deputy Superintendent Chief Operations Officer for the Chatham County Public School System. And I think it's important that we start by thanking all of our public service officials who worked with us. It was a very trying time for us yesterday when we received the first notification that there was damage to our schools. Our first point was to make sure that our staff and the many students on the property were safe. So to all of the public responders, all of you all who were here, to our partners in Georgia Power, we thank you. As you heard from the National Weather Service, the termination point was here at our schools. So that was very concerning for us. We want to make sure that before we allow any students or any staffs back in any of our facilities, that we have completed a thorough assessment of those facilities. Safety is priority 1 for students and staff. As you can see behind me, we have contractors who are working diligently to simply secure this extensive damage. We're waiting for our insurance adjusters to arrive. They are en route. We're requesting a thorough internal, external, interior, exterior assessment of that building. Not only was March Point damaged, there was damage to Allen's High School as well as to Coastal Middle School. Oakland Island will remain closed based on the damage to that particular facility. We will be notifying parents as well as staff as to the status of the buildings and when and where they will report. We will not make any final decisions until closer to the end of the day as relates to when we will be opening this particular school. But we're encouraging our parents and our staff to be patient with us. We're asking that the citizens as well as staff and family members to remain steadfast with us. We ask that you not come to the site. We're not going to allow you in March Point. We want to be able to allow the contractors to work to secure the building right now. That's what's priority for us. So we ask that they pay attention to their telephone call out, to the emails, and to all of the information that comes through the media. We will notify you as to how we will proceed forward for Monday, for teachers at this particular school, and for the start of school on Thursday. So again, we thank you for your support and your patience.
Hey, Kurt Hediger, KURT, last name Hediger, H-E-T-A-G-E-R, Chief Public Affairs and Administrative Services Officer, Chatham Public Schools. To echo what our Deputy Superintendent said, we can't thank enough with our partner agencies who responded immediately to this weather event. Our very own campus police department, state certified police department was here hand in hand as well, and of course the great workers of our school district in our school facilities and operations team who responded immediately and have really been working throughout the night and will continue to stay on this school site and work with cleanup on our grounds and improvements to our schools to make them safe. That's the key element. Safety is first, and it is paramount for us. As Ms. Miller-Kegler indicated, we have work to do. We have to get through this facility and do a complete and thorough assessment of the structure. As you can see, there is substantial damage to the roof. The school did have an open house scheduled for Monday. That obviously has been canceled, and we are working diligently to come up with what our timeline looks like for the repair of this school and any additional information that we can provide parents as to what school operations look like for Marsh Point Elementary on day one. August 2nd is the first day of school. The Islands community here has grown greatly. We affectionately call this area our K-12 campus because you have an elementary school, a middle school, and a high school in very close vicinity. We're so thankful that our schools and our high school and middle grades, the operational conditions of the facilities are looking very good. Marsh Point, as Ms. Miller-Kegler indicated, is a focus area for us. We have provided an initial parent notification letting them know of the process and the procedure that we're going through, and that we will be providing them additional information as to school opening and what that looks like for their children. We have about between 790 and 800 students that attend this school, just a little over 100 staff. So staff and students is our primary focus. Their safety is critical for us as we work to have an opening that as smoothly as we possibly can in dealing with this weather event. We've had experience now with hurricanes, we've had experiences with winter storms, and now this tornado coming through is really echoes the need for constant preparedness. Our schools go through a safety plan annually where they work on tornadoes and safety drills. It's important to know that when this tornado event came through, school was not in session, so we were not in full-scale operation for our students. There were some children, however, that were in the building. They were attending with their parents who are staff members here. So a small amount of staff were here through the weather event that were in the building getting ready for first day. We are thankful that there were no injuries reported through this weather event. And as we look at all the things that could have happened, we recognize how really lucky we are. So focus now is really in damage assessment and our recovery plan as we move forward to let our parents know what the next step is for school operation. Again, we can't thank our first responders enough for their support and also the great work of the employees of Savannah-Chatham County Public Schools who are working diligently to get back to normalcy. With that, I'm going to transition it to our Chief of Campus Police, Chief Terry Enoch, to speak to you about the campus police role and safety, important safety messages for our community.
Thank you, Kurt. My name is Terry Enoch. I'm the Chief of Police for the Board of Education Police Department. I want to first thank all of our first responders. We were able to mitigate damage to property and life because of the quick response to those who responded to this severe weather, this tornado that came here. I want to first thank Chatham Emergency Services, who was immediately on the scene. We had at least 4 people that made it through the debris at Oakland Island to the evacuees to make sure that they were safe. They did just a tremendous job to make sure that they were safe while we were there. We were very fortunate. As you see behind me, this is a coordinated, a collaborative effort on behalf of everybody. When there's an emergency, it takes the entire community to respond to it. I think you see the evidence of that. We responded, and we are still responding to this, and I think very soon, hopefully we'll be able to assess the damage and also repair it. Thank you very much.
Any other elements? Right, well done, well said. Okay, that covers the agency briefings. Is there anything that I can answer? We'll open it up to questions, and if I can't answer it, we'll point you to the subject matter experts.
Why wasn't there a warning issued?
A warning, very good question. I'll bring up the National Weather Service for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was a particularly difficult situation. The environment was not conducive, or really the conditions weren't there to produce tornadoes, or at least that's what we thought. This was a situation where multiple boundaries came together very quickly and actually developed a tornado differently than what you might be thinking about. This was not your classic, what we call Kansas type tornado that comes from the top down. This likely developed from the bottom up, similar to a water spout, what we call a land spout. They can get strong, as you see from the damage around here. They usually happen very quickly, so we're talking about start to finish probably somewhere on the order of 6 to 8 minutes. As we were looking at the data, we were looking at it on the radar. There was a suspicion that some of the velocity or the wind data on the radar was incorrect, and by the time we realized that the data was looking more legitimate, the tornado was already over. So these happened very quickly, and we're very, very thankful that no one was hurt, and thankful that this also didn't occur at nighttime, which may have been potentially more tragic, where people can't see what's coming and react. So when it's in the middle of the day, it's a little bit more, well, it's psychologically different anyway, that you can react a little differently and take cover. So we're just very thankful that no one was hurt or injured. Any other questions?
And this was a single tornado, correct?
Correct. It was a single tornado that had a bit of a weavy path, as you can see on the track that we had. And it wasn't necessarily a continuous line of destruction, if you will, or continuous line of damage. So there was times where it was very, very bad, like up in Oatland Island, and then again here in the community just across the street. And then you can see it's a bit more sporadic here by the school complex, where it was beginning to dissipate and eventually end over there by the high school.
Now, there was a tornado out in Garden City recently. Should the public be concerned about the lack of warnings being issued for these tornadoes in recent times?
Well, we're doing the best job we can with the equipment that we have in a very, very difficult science. So we are protecting you with the highest ability possible that we can do. Chatham Emergency Management has an extensive siren system that is triggered off of our warning system. So if we were to issue a warning, those sirens are out. But that's just an added level of security. Don't let it fool you that all you need is a siren. You have to take responsibility for your own families, community as well, to protect yourself, because there are going to be times like today where we will not be able to get a warning out or get a warning out in time. So you have to be able to react, know what the hazards are in this area, know how to protect yourself. What are you going to do when you see one of these coming toward your home? Do you know where to go inside your home? So I don't think people should be any more concerned than any other time. There's lots of weather, hazardous weather that occurs around here, and we just have to be aware that that can happen and just be on the lookout. We did have a special weather statement out for that storm, which is sort of just one level below a warning, meaning we think it's really strong but not quite enough to do damage. Obviously this particular system developed very, very rapidly, and we're talking about scales here that are not very big, maybe on the order of several hundred feet wide at the biggest part of this. So that's not very big when you're talking about looking from a radar and looking from a bigger standpoint that we are across a large area. So just be ready to protect yourself and know what the hazards are around here. Don't necessarily wait for the National Weather Service or Chatham Emergency Management or anyone else to get that warning out.
How complicated was the survey today? Anything in particular stand out?
That's a good question. Actually, I'd like to give kudos to Chatham Emergency Management. They have done the bulk of the legwork for us before coming out. Since they lay out using a GIS type system, they can actually lay out all the homes and the degree of damage. So that's very helpful to us because that gives us the path and the area affected. And so what our main goal out here today is to go to the hardest hit areas and decide and try to determine the wind speeds that would cause that damage. So they did the bulk of the legwork by giving us essentially what was already hit, and then we just try to evaluate how strong those winds were.
Now, how will you address this in-house? Are there any changes that the National Weather Service is looking to make in terms of informing the public, or is it just on a case-by-case basis?
Well, every storm, that's a good question, because I do want to urge all of you and stress to you that we take this very, very seriously. We have a very dedicated, talented, educated staff that does their hardest 24 hours a day, so we don't take this lightly. We're very saddened by missing the event, and we're just very happy that no one was hurt. We investigate every event, internally and sometimes externally. When it's a big, big event, like those ones in 2011, for example, where lots of places were struck by very strong and damaging tornadoes. Those are national investigations. This one's probably going to stay local and internal, but we always look through, you know, how could we do better? What did we miss? How do we improve? So we're always doing that every single day.
Now, I think it was mentioned before, but how strong were those winds and how long was the tornado track?
Okay. We think the maximum winds, and this is preliminary, I'm going to have to go back and fine tune it, but somewhere between 95 and 105 miles per hour. The track was probably roughly about 2 miles long. The whole thing was probably done in about 6 to 8 minutes. Okay, so 2 miles in 6 to 8 minutes. I haven't done out the math of what that is in forward speed, but it gives you a scale roughly of what we're dealing with here. And probably widths of several hundred feet wide. Or so, excuse me, up to 100 to maybe 200 yards wide.
How significant, what was the most significant damage in the area that you surveyed?
Yeah, as stated at the beginning, the most significant damage was up on Oatland Island, mainly tree damage, and there was some structures damage. There was a roof torn off on one log cabin type structure, but massive hard and softwood trees being snapped and uprooted. Similarly, as we moved toward the community downstream here in the Grays community area, that was also more large uprooted and snapped trees, and then the bulk of the damage from that was done by those trees crushing the homes underneath of them.
Any other questions for Ron?
Will FEMA be assisting at all?
FEMA? No, this will strictly be a local event. Any other questions?
I guess really for anyone. So I've lived here for 30 years. We've had 2 tornadoes, 2 hurricanes, and a snowstorm in the last like 2 to 3 years. I guess really anyone local, I mean, how are you guys feeling? This has been kind of a workout for you guys.
It was a point of discussion last night about 10 o'clock as we were trying to wind up our initial work. There's several different theories on that subject. A couple I might be able to repeat, but there's definitely some I cannot. And it's just luck of the draw, actually. It's just our time, I guess. But because of the people that are standing behind me and many more, this community's really prepared. Okay? It really is. Any other questions for anybody, myself, or anybody, agencies represented behind me? All right, everybody, thank you for taking your time out. Everybody, thank you for your efforts and taking your time out here. And if there's another briefing, we'll let you know. If not, have a great weekend. Thank you.